The morphine was wearing off, and so were Rebecca's illusions. She woke up in a hospital bed, alone. Her baby was gone, and the chair beside her, where her husband should have been sitting, was empty. It had been empty for 9 hours. 9 hours of emergency, 9 hours of calling him, 17 missed calls. And when someone finally answered his phone, it wasn't him. It was a woman's voice, young, breathless, restaurant noise in the background. Grant can't come to the phone right now. Is this important? 3 words. 3 words that should have brought any husband running. I'm losing our baby. There was a pause, then, oh, I'll tell him. The line went dead. That was the moment Rebecca Morrison's world shattered. But it was also the moment she stopped being a victim and became something far more dangerous. A woman with nothing left to lose, and a burning need to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of man her husband really was. This is the story of a pregnant wife abandoned in a hospital, a baby lost while her husband chose his mistress, and a revenge that shocked everyone, including the people who thought they knew her best. Because what Grant Morrison didn't understand was simple. Hell hath no fury like a woman who was left alone in her darkest hour. This is abandoned. The morphine was wearing off, and with it, the last of Rebecca's illusions. The monitors beeped, steady, rhythmic, mocking her with their regularity while everything inside her was chaos. Becca's eyes opened slowly, fighting the pull of medication and exhaustion. The hospital room came into focus. White walls, fluorescent lights, the antiseptic smell that permeated everything, and the empty chair, the chair beside her bed where Grant should have been sitting. Should have been holding her hand, should have been there for the last 9 hours. But the vinyl cushion was smooth, untouched, cold. Becca's hand moved to her stomach. The gesture was automatic, protective, except there was nothing left to protect. Her abdomen was flat, hollow. The slight swell that had been there yesterday morning was gone. The baby was gone. She remembered fragments, the cramping that started during lunch, the spotting that became bleeding, the panic as she realized something was terribly wrong, calling Grant once, twice, 10 times, 17 times total before someone finally answered. But it hadn't been Grant. Grant can't come to the phone right now. A woman's voice, young, breathless, background noise of restaurant chatter and laughter. Is this important? 3 words. 3 words that should have brought her husband running across the city. I'm losing our baby. There had been a pause, long enough for Becca to hear the woman's intake of breath, to hear music in the background, to understand that her husband was at dinner while she was hemorrhaging. Oh, just that. I'll tell him. The line had gone dead. That was 6 hours ago. The chair was still empty. Dr. Bradshaw entered the room, her professional mask firmly in place. But when her eyes landed on the empty chair, something shifted. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes held a flash of anger before she schooled her features back to neutral. Mrs. Morrison. Dr. Bradshaw's voice was gentle. Too gentle. The tone people used when delivering terrible news. How are you feeling? Where's my baby? Becca's voice cracked on the last word. Dr. Bradshaw sat on the edge of the bed, not in the empty chair. She took Becca's hand. I'm so sorry. We did everything we could. The miscarriage was too far along by the time you arrived. There was nothing we could do to stop it. Miscarriage. Such a clinical word for the death of every hope she'd carried for the last 3 months. Was it? Becca couldn't finish the question. Couldn't ask if it was her fault. No. Dr. Bradshaw's grip tightened. This was not your fault. Miscarriages happen. Sometimes there's a reason, sometimes there isn't. But stress can be a contributing factor. Stress, like calling your husband 17 times during a medical emergency and having his mistress answer the phone. Your husband, Bradshaw's voice hardened slightly. Is he coming? I don't know. The truth tasted bitter. Dr. Bradshaw stood, her professional demeanor cracking further. Mrs. Morrison, I've been an obstetrician for 28 years. I've seen a lot of things. But a husband who doesn't show up when his wife is losing their baby? She shook her head. That's not right. That's not okay. The nurse who had been quietly checking monitors chimed in softly. We tried calling the emergency contact number 14 times. 14 times from the hospital, 17 from Becca, 31 calls total, and Grant had chosen not to answer. I need to keep you for a few more hours, Dr. Bradshaw said. Make sure there's no excessive bleeding. Then you can go home. Home. To the house she shared with a man who couldn't be bothered to leave dinner when his wife needed him. Dr. Bradshaw pulled a card from her pocket and pressed it into Becca's hand. This is my personal number. Not the office line. If you need anything, if you need someone to document what happened here today, medically speaking, she met Becca's eyes. I don't usually do this, but what happened today wasn't right. After the doctor left, Becca lay in the silence. Her phone sat on the bedside table. No missed calls, no messages, nothing. She picked it up and scrolled through her call log. 17 outgoing calls. The last one answered by a woman who said her name like a caress. Vanessa, Grant's assistant. The one he had hired 6 months ago. The one he mentioned too often in passing. The one whose name came up on his phone at odd hours. The one who had answered his phone while Becca was losing their baby. Her phone buzzed. Finally, a text message. Grant, on my way home. We need to talk. Becca stared at the words. Not, I'm sorry. Not, are you okay? Not, how's the baby? We need to talk. 3 hours after the miscarriage was complete. 9 hours after the emergency started. He was finally on his way. Lily arrived 20 minutes later, bursting through the door with wild eyes and coffee stains on her scrubs. Her best friend since college. Her person. Oh my God, Becca. Lily dropped her purse and rushed to the bed. I came as soon as I got your message. I was in surgery. My phone was off. Oh my God. They hugged. Becca felt Lily's body shake with sobs, even though her own eyes were dry. Shock, probably. The tears would come later. Where's Grant? Lily pulled back, looking around the room. Not here. What do you mean not here? Where the hell is he? He was at dinner with Vanessa. Lily's face went through a series of emotions. Confusion, understanding, fury. He was where? You heard me. That son of a... Lily caught herself, took a deep breath. Okay, we're not going to deal with him right now. Right now, we're getting you out of here. You are coming home with me. I can't. Becca surprised herself with the words. I need to go home. I need to be there when he arrives. Becca, I need to see his face, Lily. I need to hear what possible explanation exists for this. Lily looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Becca's expression stopped her. Okay, but I'm driving you, and I'm staying until he gets there. The discharge process took another hour. Papers to sign, instructions about bleeding and cramping, a follow-up appointment, grief counseling resources, all delivered by nurses who looked at her with pity and whispered in the hallways. Everyone knew. The husband who didn't come. The drive home was silent. Becca stared out the window at the city passing by. People going about their normal Saturday evenings, having dinner, watching movies, living lives where their husbands showed up when they needed them. They pulled into the driveway at 8:30. Grant's BMW wasn't there. Inside, the house looked exactly as she'd left it that morning, a lifetime ago. Coffee cup in the sink, prenatal vitamins on the counter, a pregnancy book open on the kitchen table to a chapter about the second trimester. The second trimester she'd never reach. Lily made tea, neither of them drank. They sat in the living room, waiting. At 10:15, Becca heard the garage door open, Grant's car pulling in, the engine cutting off. I should go, Lily said, but her voice was hard. No, stay. I want a witness. Grant's key turned in the lock. The door opened. He stepped inside. He looked the same. Expensive suit slightly rumpled. Tie loosened. Hair that needed cutting. The man she'd married 7 years ago. The man who'd promised to love and cherish her. The man who smelled like winon and perfume that wasn't hers. Becca. He didn't meet her eyes. I heard about the baby. I'm sorry. Heard from who? From Vanessa, probably. The woman who had answered his phone and delivered the news as casually as reporting the weather. You heard. Becca's voice was flat, empty. From who exactly? Grant shifted his weight. Vanessa told me you'd called. I called 17 times, Grant. 17. I was in a meeting. I couldn't answer. A meeting. Lily stood up, her voice shaking. You're calling dinner with your assistant a meeting? Grant's eyes flicked to Lily, then back to Becca. Can we talk about this alone? No, Becca said. Lily stays. She was here. Unlike you. He flinched. Good. I was in the hospital for 9 hours. Becca stood slowly, her abdomen cramping. 9 hours. I was alone, scared, bleeding, losing our baby, and you were at dinner. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how anything could be more important than being with your wife during a medical emergency. Grant ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she'd once found endearing. Now it looked rehearsed, practiced. I know this looks bad. Looks bad? Lily's voice rose. Your wife lost your baby while you were wine and dining your assistant. That doesn't look bad. That is bad. Lily, please. Grant's tone turned condescending. This is between me and my wife. Your wife who you abandoned in a hospital? That wife? I didn't abandon. He stopped, took a breath. Becca, please, can we talk, just us? Becca looked at Lily. Her friend's face was red with fury. It's okay, I've got this. Lily hugged her hard, whispered in her ear. Call me if you need anything, anything. I'll be here in 5 minutes. She grabbed her purse and left, but not before giving Grant a look that could have melted steel. The door closed. Silence filled the room. Sit down, Becca said, and tell me the truth. All of it. Grant sat on the couch, put his head in his hands. The picture of remorse. But Becca had seen this before. The performance of regret without actual change. How long? She asked. How long what? Don't play dumb. How long have you been sleeping with Vanessa? His head snapped up. I never said. How long? The silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20, 30. 6 months, he finally said. 6 months, the entire length of her pregnancy, every ultrasound he'd missed, every time he'd worked late, every business trip. 6 months, she repeated. You've been having an affair for 6 months, through my entire pregnancy. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to. Don't. Her voice cut through his excuse. Don't you dare tell me it just happened. Affairs don't just happen. They're choices, every single time. Grant looked up, met her eyes. You're right, I made choices. Bad ones. Why? I don't know. I was scared about becoming a father, about the changes, about us. So you had an affair. I know it doesn't make sense. I know I hurt you. But Becca, I love you. I want to make this work. She almost laughed. You love me. You love me so much you couldn't answer your phone when I was losing our baby. You love me so much you were having dinner with your mistress instead of being at the hospital with your wife. Don't call her that. What should I call her? Your girlfriend? Your special friend? She's not, it's not, he stumbled over the words. It's not what? Serious? Just sex? Does it matter? You chose her over me, over our baby. That's all I need to know. Becca walked to the stairs. Every step sent pain through her body. I want you to leave. This is my house, too. The words hit like a slap. Excuse me? Grant stood. I'm just saying. The house is in my name. The cars, the bank accounts. We signed a prenup, remember? She did remember. 7 years ago, young and in love. Grant's father insisting on it. Her own parents saying it was smart. She'd signed without reading it carefully because she'd trusted him. So that's it? Becca's voice shook. You abandoned me during the worst moment of my life, admit to a 6-month affair, and now you're threatening me with the prenup? I'm not threatening. I'm just being realistic. If you want a divorce, if I want a divorce, you think this is about what I want? I'm trying to be honest about where we stand, legally. Becca looked at the man she'd married, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. Get out, she said quietly. Get out of my house. Becca, get out! The silence after her scream was deafening. Grant stared at her, then slowly stood and walked to the door. I'll stay at Vanessa's tonight. We can talk when you've calmed down. When you've calmed down. As if her anger was irrational. As if she was being hysterical. The door closed behind him. His car started, drove away. Becca stood in the empty house. Her hand went to her stomach again. Hollow, empty. And then the tears came. The sunlight through the bedroom curtains was an insult. Morning had arrived whether Becca was ready or not. She'd fallen asleep at some point, fully clothed on top of the covers. Her body ached, cramping, bleeding, the physical aftermath of losing a baby. Her phone showed 8 missed calls from Lily, 3 from her mother, 2 from Grant's mother, Diane, and 1 text from Grant. I'm sorry, I love you. We can work through this. Becca deleted it without responding. She dragged herself to the shower, stood under the hot water until it ran cold, watched the blood swirl down the drain, the physical evidence of her loss literally washing away while the emotional weight remained. When she emerged, Lily was in her kitchen making eggs and toast. How did you get in? Spare key. You gave it to me in college. I never gave it back. Lily set a plate on the table. Eat. You need protein. I'm not hungry. I don't care. Eat. They sat in silence. Becca forced down a few bites. The food tasted like cardboard. I called in sick, Lily said. I'm staying with you today. You don't have to. Yes, I do. You're not doing this alone. Lily's voice softened. Have you talked to him? He texted. I deleted it. Good. He said the prenup means I get nothing if we divorce, Wes. Lily's fork clattered against her plate. He said what? The house is in his name. The cars. Everything. I signed a prenup when we got married. Okay, that doesn't mean what he thinks it means. Prenups can be challenged, especially if he violated the terms. What terms? Was there an infidelity clause? Becca tried to remember. I don't think so. It was his dad's lawyer, standard stuff about protecting the family business. Then we get our own lawyer, someone who specializes in this. I can't afford. You'll figure it out. But Becca? Lily reached across the table and grabbed her hand. You're not letting him walk away from this. He abandoned you during a medical emergency. That has to count for something. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm so sorry for your loss. This is Dr. Bradshaw. I don't usually do this, but what happened yesterday wasn't right. If you need someone to document what happened medically, I'm here. Becca showed Lily the message. She's giving you a witness, Lily said. A medical professional who will testify that Grant wasn't there, that you were alone during a crisis. Why would she do that? Because she's a woman who's tired of watching men get away with treating their wives like garbage. Lily's voice was fierce. And because what he did was unconscionable. Becca saved Dr. Bradshaw's number, typed a response. Thank you, I might take you up on that. The reply was immediate. Anytime. For the first time since yesterday, Becca felt something other than grief. A small spark, anger maybe, or determination. I need to find a lawyer, she said. Lily pulled out her laptop. Let me do some research. They spent the morning searching, reading reviews, looking for someone who specialized in high-net-worth divorces with complications. One name kept appearing. Marcus Webb, 5-star reviews, specialty in cases involving infidelity and financial disputes, known for aggressive tactics. He's expensive, Lily warned. I'll figure it out. Becca clicked the button to schedule a consultation. Monday morning, 9 a.m., her phone rang. Grant's mother. Becca almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. She accepted the call. Rebecca, Diane Morrison's voice was tight. I heard about the baby. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Grant told me you're upset about yesterday. Upset. Such a mild word for what she felt. Did he tell you why I'm upset? He said there was a miscommunication, that he didn't get your messages right away. A miscommunication. Becca almost laughed. Did he mention where he was? Pause. He said he was at a business dinner. With Vanessa. The silence on the other end stretched. Then quietly, I see. Do you? Because I'm not sure Grant does. I'm not sure he understands that our baby died while he was having dinner with his mistress. Rebecca, I need to go, Diane. Thank you for your call. She hung up before Grant's mother could respond. That was cold, Lily said with approval. She's always made excuses for him. Poor Grant. Grant works so hard. Grant's under so much pressure. Well, now she knows exactly what kind of man her son is. The day passed slowly. Lily made lunch, neither of them ate. They watched mindless television. Lily told stories about terrible dates and hospital drama. Anything to keep Becca from thinking about the empty nursery down the hall. At 4 p.m., Becca's phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Morrison, this is Marcus Webb's office. We received your consultation request. Mr. Webb had a cancellation this afternoon. Would you be available at 5 p.m. today? Today, in 1 hour. Yes, Becca heard herself say. I'll be there. She hung up and looked at Lily. The lawyer can see me today. Then let's go. I'm driving. Becca changed into clean clothes. Black pants, white blouse. She looked like she was going to a funeral. Maybe she was. The funeral of her marriage. Marcus Webb's office was downtown in a glass tower, expensive art on the walls, a receptionist who offered water and sympathy in equal measure. Mr. Webb will see you now. The man behind the desk was younger than she expected. Late 40s with silver threading his dark hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Morrison. He stood and shook her hand. Firm grip, professional. Please sit. She did. Lily sat beside her. Before we begin, Marcus said, I want to be clear about what I do. I specialize in difficult divorces, high net worth cases where one party has significant advantages. I'm not cheap, and I don't take cases I don't think I can win. I understand. Good. Now tell me what happened. She did. All of it. The hospital, the phone calls, Grant's confession, the prenup. Marcus took notes, his expression never changing except for a slight tightening around his eyes when she described being alone in the hospital. Do you have any documentation? Texts, emails, anything showing the affair? No, he was careful. They usually are. Marcus leaned back. The prenup is a problem, but it's not insurmountable. Every prenup has weaknesses. We just need to find them. What are my options? That depends on what you want. Do you want to save the marriage or end it? End it. No hesitation. Marcus nodded. Then here's the reality. Without proof of the affair, without an infidelity clause in the prenup, you're looking at limited assets. The house, the most, his business interests are all protected. So he wins. I didn't say that. I said it's difficult. But Mrs. Morrison, you have something more valuable than financial leverage. You have the truth. And the truth properly presented can be devastating. What do you mean? You were abandoned during a medical emergency that resulted in pregnancy loss. That's not just grounds for divorce. That's potential abandonment, emotional distress, possibly even a wrongful death civil case. Becca's breath caught. Wrongful death? It's a stretch, but the stress of being abandoned during a crisis could be argued as a contributing factor to the miscarriage. I'm not saying we'd win, but the threat alone might be enough to make Grant more amenable to settlement. Wouldn't that require proof that the stress caused it? We'd need medical testimony, someone willing to state that stress and lack of support can contribute to miscarriage complications. Becca thought of Dr. Bradshaw, her offer to document what happened. I might have that. Marcus's eyebrows rose. Then we have options, real options. But Mrs. Morrison, you need to understand, if we pursue this aggressively, it will be public. Messy. Grant will fight back. Are you prepared for that? She thought about the empty chair, about Grant's voice on the phone with Vanessa, about coming home to an empty house. Yes, she said, I'm prepared. Good, then let's get started. They spent 2 hours going over everything. Financial records, property deeds, the prenup document. Marcus made copies of everything and sent her home with homework. Document everything from here on out. Every text, every call, every interaction. Don't delete anything. Don't engage unless necessary. And Mrs. Morrison? He met her eyes. Don't underestimate him. Men like Grant will do anything to protect themselves. Be prepared for him to get worse before this gets better. In the car, Lily was quiet. What are you thinking? Becca asked. I'm thinking that was intense and expensive. How are you going to pay for this? I have some money, savings from before we got married. It's in my name, and I can pick up more hours at the gallery. The gallery. She'd been working part-time at an art gallery when she and Grant met. Margaret Sullivan, the owner, had been wonderful about letting her scale back when she got pregnant. Now she'd need those hours back. Her phone buzzed as they pulled up to her house. Grant. Can we talk? I miss you. We can fix this. She showed Lily. Don't respond. Make him sweat. But Grant wasn't done. Another message came through. Please, I love you. I made a mistake. Don't throw away 7 years over one mistake. One mistake. As if 6 months of betrayal was a single error in judgment. A third message. You're being unreasonable. Think about what you're throwing away. There it was, blaming her, making her the problem. Becca typed a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, have your lawyer contact Marcus Webb. All communication goes through him. She hit send before she could change her mind. The response was immediate. You hired Marcus Webb? Becca, that's hostile. We can work this out between us. No, she typed. We can't. She turned off her phone, looked at Lily. I'm doing this. Good, because that son of a bitch deserves everything that's coming to him. That night, Becca lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her body hurt. Her heart hurt worse. But underneath the pain was something else, something hard and cold and determined. Grant thought she'd roll over, take whatever scraps he offered, be grateful for the privilege of being his discarded wife. He was wrong. She thought about the nursery down the hall, the baby who would never sleep there, the life she'd imagined that would never exist. And she made a promise to that ghost of a future. She would make this mean something. Her baby's death wouldn't be just another tragedy that Grant walked away from unscathed. No, this time there would be consequences. Becca sat in her car outside Marcus Webb's office for 10 full minutes on Monday morning. Engine off, hands on the steering wheel, unable to make her body move forward, because walking through that glass door meant admitting her marriage was really over, meant declaring war on the man she'd loved for 7 years, meant accepting that the future she'd imagined no longer existed. But the alternative was accepting defeat, and that, she discovered, was worse. She got out of the car. Marcus was waiting with coffee and a stack of documents 3 inches thick. I did some preliminary research, he said without preamble. Your husband is more interesting than I initially thought. Interesting how? His firm has been involved in several questionable property transactions over the last 3 years. Nothing proven, but enough smoke to suggest fire. What does that have to do with our divorce? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. If Grant has been hiding assets or engaging in financial impropriety, the prenup becomes meaningless. Fraud vitiates everything. Becca absorbed this. You think he's been cooking the books? I think it's worth investigating, but that takes time and money. For now, we focus on what we can prove. The affair, the abandonment, building a case that makes Grant want to settle rather than go to court. How do we prove the affair if he was careful? People are never as careful as they think. Social media, credit card statements, location data. There's always a trail. Marcus slid a form across the desk. I need access to your joint accounts, credit cards, bank statements, anything with both your names on it. She signed the authorization, felt like she was signing away the last piece of her old life. What about Vanessa? She asked. Can we talk to her? Not directly, that's witness tampering, but we can investigate her. Employment history, social media. Sometimes the other woman is an unexpected ally. Why would she help me? She might not, but she might also realize that a man who cheats on his wife will likely cheat on his mistress. Self-preservation makes strange bedfellows. Becca left with more homework, more documents to find, more evidence to gather. At home, she opened her laptop and started digging. Grant's Facebook was locked down, but his Instagram was public. Professional photos mostly, properties he'd sold, office events, nothing obvious. But she went back 6 months to when the affair started. There, a restaurant tag, the French place downtown, Le Bernardin, Grant had told her he was meeting a client that night. But in the background of someone else's photo from the same evening, she could see him, seated across from a young blonde woman, Vanessa. She screenshot it, kept scrolling. Another photo, a company retreat 3 months ago, Grant and Vanessa standing too close, his hand on her lower back, the gesture casual, familiar. More screenshots. A charge on their joint credit card caught her eye. A hotel room in San Francisco. Grant had gone there for a conference 2 months ago, stayed 3 nights. But the hotel charge was for a suite. She called the hotel. Hi, I'm confirming my husband's reservation from 2 months ago. He stayed in one of your suites. Can you tell me what type? The clerk checked. The reservation was for a king suite. Is there a problem? A king suite, not two queens, one bed. No problem, thank you. She documented it all. Every photo, every charge, every discrepancy between what Grant had told her and what the evidence showed. Her phone rang. Lily. How are you feeling? Her friend asked. Like a detective? Find anything? A lot. He wasn't as careful as he thought. Good. Listen, I did something. Don't be mad. What did you do? I know a guy. Actually, I know a guy who knows a guy. He's a private investigator. I asked him to look into Vanessa. Lily. Before you object, he owed me a favor. Free of charge. And you paid to know who you're dealing with. Becca should have been angry, but curiosity won. What did he find? Can I come over? 20 minutes later, they sat at Becca's kitchen table, Lily's laptop between them. Vanessa Marie Cole, Lily began, 28 years old, grew up in Riverside, working-class family. Father left when she was 12. Mother works at a call center. One younger brother in community college. Sounds pretty normal. It does, until you look at her employment history. Lily pulled up a document. Before Grant hired her 6 months ago, she worked for 3 different companies. Never stayed longer than 8 months. Want to guess what all 3 bosses had in common? Tell me. Married men over 40, and all 3 marriages ended in messy, expensive divorces within a year of Vanessa leaving. Becca's stomach dropped. She's done this before. At least 3 times that we can verify. She gets hired as an assistant, has an affair with the boss. The wife finds out. Divorce happens. Vanessa moves on to the next company. Why? What does she get out of it? Money probably, gifts, maybe settlement payments to keep quiet, or she just enjoys the power. Who knows? Lily clicked to another file. But here's where it gets interesting. She's been texting with someone named Ashley. They use an encrypted messaging app. My guy has a contact who specializes in this stuff. Is that legal? Don't ask questions you don't want answered, but look at these messages. Becca read. Her blood turned to ice. Vanessa to Ashley 3 months ago. He's finally starting to crack. Says his wife is cold, doesn't understand him. Classic. Ashley. How much longer? Vanessa. 6 months maybe. She's pregnant, which complicates things. But once the baby comes and she's exhausted and boring, he'll be ready to leave. The words blurred. Becca had to read them twice. 3 times. She's pregnant, which complicates things. Her baby, her pregnancy, reduced to a complication in Vanessa's scheme. There's more, Lily said gently. Vanessa to Ashley 1 month ago. She lost the baby. He's torn up about it, obviously, but this might actually work in my favor. Now there's nothing tying him to her. Becca's hands shook so hard she couldn't hold the laptop. Lily took it from her. Breathe, her friend said. Just breathe. But she couldn't. The room was spinning. That woman, that calculating, cold-blooded woman, had seen her baby's death as an opportunity. I'm going to be sick. She ran to the bathroom, threw up until there was nothing left. Lily held her hair back and didn't say a word. When the heaving stopped, Becca sat on the tile floor. Cold, hard, real. Can we use those messages? She finally asked. That's a question for Marcus. They were obtained through questionable means, but even if we can't use them in court, we know her strategy now. What strategy? She wants the divorce. She wants it public and messy. She wants Grant so isolated he has no choice but to fully commit to her. Then she's about to get her wish. Becca stood, rinsed her mouth, looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes looked different, harder, good. I'm not the victim here, she said. I'm the wronged wife who's about to destroy everyone who hurt her. Lily smiled. Now you're talking. That night, Becca stood in the doorway of the nursery. She'd been avoiding this room since coming home from the hospital, but she couldn't anymore. She turned on the light, the crib they'd assembled together, the rocking chair that had been her grandmother's, refinished in soft white, the mobile with little moons and stars that Grant had bought on a whim. The closet was full of baby clothes. Most still had tags, tiny onesies, impossibly small socks, a pink dress her mother had sent with a note saying, just in case it's a girl. It might have been. She'd never know. Becca sat in the rocking chair, let it creak under her weight. This was supposed to be her refuge, her place to nurse and soothe and love. Now it was a tomb. Her phone buzzed. Grant. We need to talk, please. I love you. She almost threw the phone, but discipline won. She opened the Messages app and took screenshots of everything. Every text he'd sent, every missed call, all evidence of his attempts at manipulation. Then she blocked his number. If he wanted to contact her, he could do it through Marcus. She sat in the nursery until midnight, not crying, not really feeling anything, just sitting with what should have been. Finally, she stood, turned off the light, closed the door. Tomorrow, she'd start taking this room apart, start donating the clothes and dismantling the crib, start erasing the evidence of the future that died in a hospital room while her husband was having wine with his mistress. But tonight, she let herself grieve. The text came from an unknown number Tuesday morning. Rebecca, this is Diane Morrison, Grant's mother. We need to talk today. Please. Becca stared at the message. Diane had called once since the hospital, a brief, awkward conversation where she'd made excuses for Grant. A miscommunication, she'd said. Now she wanted to talk. Against her better judgment, Becca replied, when and where? Coffee, noon, the Starbucks on Maple. Please come. It could be a trap, an attempt to manipulate her into dropping the divorce, or worse, convince her to accept whatever lowball offer Grant planned to make. But curiosity won. She needed to see what Diane wanted. The coffee shop was crowded with the lunch rush. Diane sat in a corner booth looking older than Becca remembered. Tired, lines around her eyes that hadn't been there at Christmas. Thank you for coming, Diane said as Becca slid into the booth. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you. Diane stirred her coffee but didn't drink. Rebecca, I owe you an apology. Several, actually. This wasn't what Becca expected. I knew, Diane continued, her voice tight with emotion. Not about the affair specifically, but I knew something was wrong. Grant would mention Vanessa too often, too casually, the way men do when they're trying to convince themselves it's innocent. Why didn't you say anything? Because he's my son. Simple, painful, honest. And because I hoped I was wrong, I hoped he was better than his father. Becca's attention sharpened. His father? Diane met her eyes. Grant's father had affairs, multiple. I stayed, for the boys, I told myself, for the family image, for 1,000 reasons that all boiled down to cowardice. The revelation hung in the air. Grant had never mentioned this, not once in 7 years of marriage. When Grant was 16, he found out about one of them. Diane continued. He was so angry, confronted his father, made him promise to end it, to never do that to me again. She laughed bitterly. And then he grows up and becomes exactly what he hated. Did his father stop? For a while, then he started again. Different women, always different women. He died 5 years ago thinking he'd gotten away with everything. And maybe he did. Becca understood now. The family history, the cycle repeating. Yesterday, Diane said, Grant came to my house, told me about the baby, about you wanting a divorce. He expected sympathy, expected me to tell him it would all blow over. And did you? I asked where he was when you lost the baby. He said he was at a business dinner, couldn't leave. It was important. Diane's voice hardened. I asked with who. He said Vanessa, his assistant. And that's when I knew. Knew what? That my grandbaby died while my son was having dinner with his mistress. that he'd made the same choice his father made 100 times, that I'd failed to break the cycle. Diane's composure finally cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I slapped him. First time I've struck either of my sons since they were children. Becca felt something unexpected. Not quite sympathy, but understanding. He looked shocked, Diane continued, like he couldn't believe his own mother would hit him. And you know what he said? He said, "You don't understand, it's complicated." She laughed through her tears. Complicated. That's what his father always said, too. This isn't about revenge, Diane said, meeting Becca's eyes. It's about accountability. He needs to understand that actions have consequences. That abandoning your wife during a medical crisis isn't something you can just apologize away. Why are you telling me this? Because you need leverage, and because I'm done watching Morrison men think they can do whatever they want without consequences. Diane pulled out a folder, set it on the table. Grant has a trust fund from his grandfather. It's substantial, 7 figures, and it has conditions, moral conduct clauses written in the 1950s when infidelity actually mattered to people. What kind of conditions? Infidelity nullifies certain provisions. He doesn't lose everything, but he loses about 40% if he can't prove marital conduct of good character. Can we prove he can't? With medical testimony from Dr. Bradshaw? With evidence of a 6-month affair? Yes, we can prove it. Why would you do this to your own son? Diane's eyes were steel. Because he's not the son I raised. And because you deserve better than to be cast aside while he walks away with everything. They talked for 2 hours. Diane knew things about Grant's finances that Becca had never been told. The partnership agreement at his firm that included a morality clause. The family foundation where he served on the board. The connections and relationships that could be leveraged. There's something else, Diane said. Tom wants to talk to you, Grant's brother. Tom? He's furious with Grant. They've never been close, but this crossed a line. He has his own grievances about how Grant treats people. He wants to help. Why? Because Tom married Julia 5 years ago, and Grant made a pass at her at the rehearsal dinner. Becca's jaw dropped. He what? Julia never told Tom until last week. After she heard about you, she didn't want to cause family drama. But now? Diane smiled grimly. Now she's ready to testify to a pattern of behavior. This was bigger than Becca had imagined. Not just a divorce, a family fracture. Multiple witnesses, multiple victims. I need to talk to my lawyer, she said. Of course, but Rebecca... Diane reached across the table and took her hand. I'm on your side, whatever you need, whatever it takes. Becca drove straight to Marcus Webb's office. My mother-in-law is helping me, she announced. Marcus blinked. Excuse me? She explained everything, the family trust, the morality clauses, Tom and Julia's willingness to testify, the pattern of behavior spanning years. Marcus leaned back in his chair, whistled low. This changes everything. How? We're not just fighting for equitable asset division anymore. We're fighting to establish that Grant has violated the terms of family agreements. That opens up resources we wouldn't otherwise have access to. But the prenup protects marital assets. It doesn't protect trust funds or family money. If we can show he violated the terms of his grandfather's trust, that money is fair game. How much are we talking about? According to what you've told me, several $1,000,000, and that's just the trust. There's also his position at the firm. If the partners find out about an affair that violates their morality clause, they could force him out. Becca absorbed this. This could destroy his career. Yes, is that what you want? She thought about the empty hospital chair, about Vanessa's text messages, about Grant's voice when he'd threatened her with the prenup. Yes, she said, that's exactly what I want. Then let's build the case. But Rebecca, you need to understand, if we go this route, it will be public, messy. Grant will fight back hard. He'll try to make you look vindictive, crazy. He'll dig up every mistake you've ever made. I don't care. You say that now. But when reporters are calling and your private life is splashed across social media, you might feel differently. Then I'll deal with it, but I'm not backing down. He doesn't get to abandon me and walk away unscathed. Marcus studied her. Okay, then here's what we do next. That evening, Becca sat in the nursery again, this time with Lily. They didn't talk, just sat together in the rocking chair that barely fit two people. The silence was comfortable, safe. Finally, Lily spoke. Are you sure about this? It's going to get ugly. I'm sure. He's going to fight dirty. Then so will I. Good. Lily squeezed her hand, because that son of a bitch deserves everything that's coming. Her phone buzzed, a new number, not Grant. The text read, This is Vanessa. We need to talk, alone. I think you'd be very interested in what I have to say about your husband. Becca showed Lily. It's a trap, Lily said immediately. Probably. You're going to go anyway, aren't you? I have to know what she wants. Then I'm coming with you. I'll stay out of sight. But I'm not letting you meet her alone. Becca typed a response. When and where? The answer came quickly. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., the coffee shop on 4th Street. Come alone. I'll be there, Becca replied. She looked at Lily. What do you think she want? No idea, but whatever it is, it's not good news for Grant. That night, Becca couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Vanessa's messages, the calculated way she'd pursued Grant, the coldness of seeing a baby's death as an opportunity. What did that kind of person want? And more importantly, could Becca trust anything she said? She'd find out tomorrow. Becca did the thing she'd promised herself she wouldn't do. At 2 in the morning, wide awake and staring at the ceiling, she opened Instagram. Not her account, a fake one she'd created just for this purpose. She typed in Vanessa's name and started scrolling through her curated life. She hated herself for it. Couldn't stop herself from doing content. Every perfect photo, every filtered selfie, every carefully angled shot designed to show a glamorous life. The woman who'd answered Grant's phone while Becca was losing their baby posted brunch photos and sunset views like nothing had happened. Becca closed the app feeling dirty, diminished, but also more resolved. Wednesday at 3 p.m., she sat in the coffee shop on 4th Street. Lily was parked outside, watching through the window, ready to intervene if needed. Vanessa walked in at 3:05. Becca recognized her from Instagram and from glimpses at Grant's office events. Young, pretty in that generic way. Blonde hair professionally highlighted, expensive purse that Grant probably bought. She looked nervous. Good. Thank you for coming, Vanessa said as she slid into the booth across from Becca. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you. Vanessa's hands trembled as she set her coffee down. I know what you think of me. Do you? You think I'm a homewrecker, a gold digger, the other woman who destroyed your marriage. Are you saying you're not? Vanessa looked up, met her eyes. I'm saying it's more complicated than that. Affairs usually are. At least, that's what people who have them like to claim. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know some things. Before everything explodes and the truth becomes whatever version benefits people most. Becca leaned back, crossed her arms. So, talk. Vanessa pulled out her phone, opened a folder, slid it across the table. Look at these, please. Becca took the phone, scrolled through text messages, hundreds of them, from Grant to Vanessa. But these weren't love messages or intimate exchanges, they were instructions. Transfer $50,000 from the Riverside account to the offshore holding company. Delete all emails regarding the Thompson property acquisition. If anyone asks about the Martinez deal, you don't know anything. I need you to sign this document as a witness. Doesn't matter that you weren't there. Just sign. Becca kept scrolling, her stomach tightened with each message. Grant's been using me, Vanessa said quietly. Not just for the affair. For all of it. Every shady business deal his firm does, I'm the one handling the paperwork. I'm the one whose name is on documents. I'm the fall guy. Why are you showing me this? Vanessa's composure cracked. Because 2 days ago, I found out I'm pregnant. Time stopped. The coffee shop noise faded. Becca heard only the rush of blood in her ears. She couldn't finish the sentence. 10 weeks. I haven't told Grant yet, but when I do, Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I thought he'd be happy. That this would be our chance, a fresh start. But then I saw the way he reacted when you lost your baby. What way? Relief. He didn't want to be a father, Becca. He wanted the image of it. The perfect family for business associates to admire. But the actual responsibility, the sacrifice, he didn't want it. Becca's hands clenched. So you're pregnant with his child and showing me evidence of financial crimes. What exactly do you want from me? I want us to help each other. You have motive to destroy him. I have evidence. Together, we can make sure he faces real consequences. Why would I help you? You had an affair with my husband. You answered his phone while I was losing our baby. I know, I did those things. But I'm also a 28-year-old woman who's been manipulated into being an accessory to fraud, who's pregnant and terrified, who realized too late that the man she thought loved her is actually a predator using her as a shield. Becca wanted to walk away, wanted to tell this woman to handle her own mess. But the messages on that phone, the evidence of Grant's crimes, that changed things. I need to make a call, she said. She stepped outside, called Marcus. My husband's mistress just told me she's pregnant and has evidence of financial crimes. What do I do? Silence on the other end. Then, don't say anything else. Don't promise anything. Tell her your lawyer needs to verify everything independently. She wants my help. Of course she does. She's in trouble and looking for an ally. But Rebecca, this is dangerous. If you team up with the mistress, it looks like revenge. It undermines your position as the wronged wife. Even if she has real evidence, especially if she has real evidence, because then it looks like you two conspired together. What should I do? Get copies of everything. Tell her we'll verify independently. Don't promise anything. And for God's sake, don't let her think you're friends. Becca went back inside, sat down. My lawyer needs to verify everything, she said, independently. If you're willing to provide copies of all those messages and documents, we'll look into it. And if it's real, if everything I'm showing you is legitimate, then we'll figure out next steps. But I'm not promising anything. You understand that? Vanessa nodded. I understand. I'll send you everything. Every message, every document, every piece of evidence I have. Why are you really doing this? Because I'm pregnant and terrified. Because Grant told me he loved me, and then I found out I'm just another tool he's using. Because when this all comes out, I'm the one who'll go to prison while he hires expensive lawyers and plays victim. You could just walk away, disappear, and spend my life looking over my shoulder, waiting for federal investigators to find me? No, I'd rather face this head on. They exchanged information, email addresses, phone numbers. Vanessa sent the files immediately, hundreds of messages, scanned documents, bank records. One more thing, Vanessa said as she stood to leave. Grant's been meeting with lawyers, not divorce lawyers, criminal defense. He knows we're coming. He knows something's coming, and he's preparing to burn everything down to save himself, including me, including you. After Vanessa left, Becca sat alone for a long time. Lily came in and sat beside her. I saw that. Tell me that wasn't what I think it was. She's pregnant. Oh, God. And she has evidence that Grant's been committing financial fraud for years. Oh, my God. And she wants to help us take him down. Lily was quiet for a moment, then, okay, this is insane. You know that, right? Teaming up with your husband's pregnant mistress? I know. Marcus is going to lose his mind. He already did. I called him. And he said to get the evidence and verify everything independently, not to promise anything. A smart man. They drove to Marcus's office. He was waiting with a forensic accountant and a securities lawyer. For 3 hours, they went through everything, the messages, the documents, the bank records. Finally, the forensic accountant sat back. This is real. These transactions, these offshore accounts, this isn't just questionable. It's fraud, tax evasion, possibly money laundering. How much are we talking about? Becca asked. Millions. If the SEC investigates, if the IRS gets involved. The accountant shook his head. Grant Morrison is looking at serious prison time. Marcus looked at Becca. This changes everything. We're not talking about divorce anymore. We're talking about federal charges. What about Vanessa? She's implicated too. She is, but if she cooperates, if she testifies, she might avoid prison, probation maybe, restitution. But she needs her own lawyer. Someone who can negotiate immunity in exchange for testimony. She can't afford a lawyer. That's not your problem. But Becca thought about Vanessa's scared face, about the baby she was carrying. Grant's baby, her own baby's half-sibling in a strange, twisted way. I'll pay for it, she heard herself say. What? Marcus and Lily spoke simultaneously. I'll pay for her lawyer. She deserves representation. And her baby deserves a mother who's not in prison. Becca, Lily started, I know it's crazy, but it's the right thing to do. Marcus studied her. You're a better person than most, okay? I know someone who specializes in this. I'll make the call. That night, alone in her house, Becca stood in the nursery doorway again, but this time she went inside, opened the closet, looked at all the tiny clothes she'd bought with such hope. The grief hit like a physical blow. Sudden, overwhelming, she sank to the floor, pulling baby clothes into her lap. A yellow onesie with ducks, a pink blanket her mother had knitted, tiny socks that would have fit on her thumb. Her baby should have been here, should have worn these clothes, should have slept in that crib. Instead, there was nothing, empty space where a life should have been. And Vanessa was pregnant, carrying Grant's child, the child that would exist while hers didn't. The unfairness of it crushed her. She curled up on the nursery floor, clutching baby clothes, and sobbed. Deep, wrenching cries that came from somewhere primal. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This wasn't about justice or money or winning. Her baby was gone, and no amount of destroying Grant's life would bring that back. But maybe, just maybe, she could make sure no one else got hurt by him. Maybe her pain could mean something. She cried until there was nothing left, until her body was empty of tears and her throat was raw. Then she carefully folded each piece of clothing, packed them in boxes marked donate. Someone else would need these things. Someone else would have the baby she didn't get to have. Except the rocking chair, that she couldn't let go of yet. Lily helped her move it to the spare room. Storage. Not gone. Just waiting. Her phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Thank you, for the lawyer. You didn't have to do that. Becca didn't respond right away, let herself sit with the complexity. This woman had answered the phone during the worst moment of her life, had calculated that her baby's death was an opportunity. But she was also 28 and pregnant and terrified. People were complicated, situations were messy, and sometimes the person who hurt you needed help too. She typed, your baby deserves a mother who's free. That's all. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I don't deserve your kindness. Probably not, but I'm not doing it for you. Then why? Because I'm tired of watching people like Grant hurt people and walk away. This stops now. The next morning, Becca received a call from Linda Harrison, the investigative journalist Marcus had mentioned. Mrs. Morrison, I've been following your husband's firm for 6 months, Linda said without preamble. Property acquisition irregularities. Suspicious transactions. But I couldn't get anyone to talk. Until now. What changed? You did, your story, and Vanessa Cole's cooperation. This isn't just a messy divorce anymore. It's a pattern of predatory behavior enabled by financial crimes. They met that afternoon. Linda's office was cluttered with files and coffee cups and framed journalism awards. Before we start, Linda said, I need you to understand what you're doing. Once this story runs, there's no taking it back. Your private life becomes public. Everyone will have an opinion. I understand. Do you? Because people will blame you. They'll ask what you did to drive your husband into another woman's arms. They'll call you vindictive. They'll say you're destroying a good man's life over a mistake. He abandoned me in a hospital while I lost our baby. That's not a mistake. That's a choice, Linda nodded. Then let's make sure everyone knows that. For 3 hours, Becca told her story, all of it, the hospital, the phone calls, the empty chair, Grant's confession, the prenup threat, Vanessa's messages, the financial crimes. Linda took notes, didn't interrupt, didn't judge. I'll need to verify everything, she said when Becca finished. Medical records, testimony from Dr. Bradshaw, interviews with family members. This has to be airtight. How long? 2 weeks, maybe 3. I need to talk to everyone, build the full picture. What about Vanessa? I'll interview her separately. Her story matters too. The pattern of hiring vulnerable young women, using them for illegal activities, discarding them when convenient. There are others. Linda pulled out another file. 3 I've found so far. Former assistants of Grant's, women who left under suspicious circumstances. Would you be willing to meet them? Yes. Over the next week, Becca met 3 women who'd worked for Grant before Vanessa. Jennifer Martinez, 42. She'd worked at Grant's firm 5 years ago. He made advances, she said quietly. When I refused, my projects got reassigned. My reviews went from excellent to mediocre. I left before I got fired. Stephanie Parker, 35. Grant's assistant 2 years ago. He pressured me to sign documents. Told me not to read them carefully. Just trust him. When I started asking questions, he fired me. Threatened legal action if I ever talked about what I'd seen. Maya Thompson, 28. An intern who'd witnessed everything. The way he treated women was disgusting, especially the younger ones. Comments, touching, creating an environment where you felt unsafe saying no. A pattern, clear and damning. Linda interviewed all of them, documented everything. Built a case that went far beyond one affair or one abandoned wife. Meanwhile, Marcus received the forensic accounting report. Grant had hidden assets worth millions. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Properties held under shell companies. Tax evasion spanning 5 years. The IRS will want copies of everything, Marcus said, as will the SEC. This is federal. Will Vanessa be okay? Her lawyer is negotiating immunity in exchange for testimony. She'll likely avoid prison if she cooperates fully, but she'll have to pay restitution. What about me? You're the victim. But Rebecca, when this breaks, it's going to be big. National news probably. Are you ready for that? She thought about the empty nursery, about Grant's voice on the phone with Vanessa, about all the women he'd heard over the years. I'm ready. That night, Becca went to the grocery store at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Wandered the aisles picking up items she didn't need. Stood in the coffee aisle for 10 full minutes, staring at a bag of Grant's favorite blend. Almost bought it from pure muscle memory. Caught herself. Put it back. Bought a different brand. Cried in her car for 20 minutes. It was the small things that destroyed you. The habitual reach for his preferred brand. The automatic thought of Grant likes this, before remembering Grant didn't live here anymore. That Grant had forfeited the right to have his coffee preferences considered. Diane Morrison called with an update. Tom spoke to the other partners at Grant's firm, showed them the morality clause in the partnership agreement. They're preparing to remove him. That fast? Financial crimes and reputation risks move fast in that world. They're protecting themselves. What will Grant do? Fight, probably, but he's fighting on multiple fronts now. The divorce, the federal investigation, the family trust, his own firm. He can't win them all. Good. Rebecca? Diane's voice softened. How are you, really? It was the first time anyone in Grant's family had asked. Not about the divorce, not about the legal strategies, about her. I'm surviving, Becca said honestly. Some days that's enough. It is enough, and when this is over, you'll do more than survive. You'll thrive. I promise you that. The article was scheduled to run in 1 week. Linda sent Becca a draft. The headline, Abandoned, When Corporate Power Meets Personal Cruelty, the Grant Morrison story. It was thorough, fair to everyone except Grant, every fact verified, every quote attributed, every document sourced. It detailed the hospital abandonment, the affair, the financial crimes, the pattern of behavior with female employees, the family trust violations. All of it. At the end, Linda had included a quote from Becca. My baby died while my husband chose dinner with his mistress. I want people to know that actions have consequences, that no amount of money or power excuses cruelty. It's perfect, Becca told Linda. You're sure once this runs, there's no going back? I'm sure. That evening, Lily came over with wine and takeout. They sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Are you scared? Lily asked. Terrified. But you're doing it anyway. I have to, for me, for the baby I lost, for all the women he hurt. You're incredible, you know that? I'm just tired of being a victim. They sat in comfortable silence. Two friends who'd known each other since college, who'd survived breakups and heartbreaks and now this. When this is over, Lily said, we're taking a vacation. Beach, umbrella drinks, hot cabana boys to look at. I'm not ready for that. I know, but someday you will be. And when you are, I'll be there, wing woman extraordinaire. Becca smiled, first real smile in weeks. Deal. 2 days before the article was scheduled to run, Grant showed up at her door. She shouldn't have answered, but she did. He looked terrible, unshaven, red eyes, suit wrinkled. I know you're planning something, he said, but no greeting, no pretense. I know you're trying to destroy me. I'm not trying to do anything, I'm just telling the truth. Your version of it. The version where you abandoned me during a medical emergency, where you cheated throughout my entire pregnancy, where you've been committing financial crimes for years. That version. Those things are taken out of context. Were you at dinner with Vanessa when I was losing our baby? Yes or no? He didn't answer. Did you have an affair with her for 6 months? Yes or no? It's more complicated. Yes or no, Grant? Yes. Barely audible. Then there's no context that makes any of this okay. He stepped closer. For a second, she thought he might actually get physical, but he just said quietly, I loved you once. I did. Then you should have been there when I needed you. If you publish this article, you'll regret it. The prenup still stands. You'll get nothing. I don't want your money, Grant. I want you to face consequences. You're going to ruin my life. No, you ruined your life. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. He stared at her, looking for the woman who'd let things slide, who'd kept quiet about his flaws, who'd protected his image above her own well-being. That woman was gone. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. He left, door slamming behind him. Becca locked it, triple-checked the locks, then called Marcus. Grant was just here, threatening me. Did he touch you? No, but he was aggressive. Document it, text, email, whatever, every interaction. And Rebecca, don't let him in again. If he shows up, call the police. She lay awake that night, listening to every sound, half expecting Grant to come back. But he didn't. The article was running in 48 hours. After that, everything would change. She was ready. The night before the article ran, Becca couldn't sleep. She sat in what used to be the nursery, now her art studio, blank canvas in front of her. Brush in hand, she hadn't painted in years. Grant had said it wasn't practical, that hobbies didn't pay bills, that she should focus on real work. Now she let the brush move. Abstract colors, reds and blacks and sharp whites, anger and grief and something that might be hope mixed together on canvas. The painting took shape, a woman dissolving into light and color, breaking apart and reforming, destruction and rebirth happening simultaneously. At 3 a.m, she stepped back, looked at what she'd made. It was raw, honest, painful to look at. It was real. The article went live at 6 a.m. Thursday morning. Becca's phone started buzzing immediately. Calls, texts, emails, social media notifications exploding. She turned it all off, couldn't look, couldn't face the responses yet. Instead, she went to work. Margaret Sullivan took one look at her and poured coffee. I read it, Margaret said quietly. All of it. And I'm proud of you, terrified for you, but proud. The gallery was quiet that morning, only a few customers. One woman approached Becca directly. I lost a baby too, she said, tears in her eyes. 10 years ago. My husband was supportive, but I still felt so alone. Thank you for speaking out. They hugged, strangers united by grief. But not everyone was supportive. Margaret showed Becca a comment on the gallery's Facebook page. Hiring vindictive women who destroy men's careers now? I deleted it, Margaret said. But there will be more. People are divided. I know. You okay? I will be. By noon, the article had been shared thousands of times. Hashtag Justice for Becca was trending, but so was hashtag Gold Digger and hashtag Lying Wife. The internet was doing what the internet does, taking sides, making judgments, reducing complex situations to hot takes and memes. Marcus called. The firm put Grant on administrative leave. They're launching an internal investigation. Already? The SEC contacted them this morning. They're protecting themselves, distancing from Grant as fast as possible. What about the family trust? Diane is meeting with the trustees today. She's pushing for immediate suspension of Grant's access pending review of the morality clause violations. Will it work? Hard to say, but combined with everything else, he's in serious trouble. 3 women reached out through Linda Harrison, former employees of Grant's firm, all with similar stories of harassment, pressure, and retaliation. Linda interviewed them immediately. A follow-up article was already in the works. This wasn't just about Becca anymore. It was about a pattern spanning years, multiple victims, a culture of abuse protected by wealth and power. The story was getting bigger. That evening, Becca met with Dr. Sarah Bennett, the therapist Marcus had recommended. "How are you handling all of this?" Dr. Bennett asked. "I don't know. Sometimes I feel strong, powerful, like I'm finally taking control. Other times I feel empty, lost. Both those things can be true. Can they? Absolutely. Healing isn't linear. You can feel victorious one moment and devastated the next. That's normal. Is it normal to help your husband's pregnant mistress? That's a complicated question. Why did you do it? Because her baby deserves better. Because I'm tired of watching people get hurt. Because, Becca paused, because my baby's death has to mean something. If it can protect even one person from Grant, then maybe it wasn't completely pointless. Dr. Bennett leaned forward. "Rebecca, your baby's death isn't pointless. It's tragic. But what you're doing now, speaking out, protecting others, that's you creating meaning. That's you refusing to let his cruelty be the end of the story. I feel like I'm falling apart." "You're not falling apart. You're reconstructing yourself. That's messy and painful and brave." Becca finally emptied the last boxes from the nursery, called Lily for help. They worked mostly in silence, carrying boxes marked "Donate" to Lily's car. The hardest part was the rocking chair, her grandmother's, refinished specially for the baby who never came. Lily wrapped it carefully, labeled it differently. "Storage, not donate. Some things you aren't ready to let go of yet," Lily said gently. Becca didn't argue. Maybe someday she'd be ready. Today wasn't that day. Grant's lawyer called Marcus with a settlement offer. $500,000. Her car, personal belongings, in exchange for an NDA and agreement not to pursue additional claims. "It's an insult," Marcus said. "We're not taking it. What do we counter with?" $750,000, the house, no NDA, and he admits on record to the abandonment and affair. Will he agree? He will if we threaten wrongful death civil litigation. Can we actually win that? Probably not, but the threat is enough. The publicity alone would be devastating. The follow-up article ran 3 days later, featuring interviews with Jennifer Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and Maya Thompson. Each woman telling her story, the pattern becoming undeniable. #Morrison pattern started trending. Grant's firm released a statement. "We are conducting a thorough review of all personnel matters and take these allegations seriously." The SEC confirmed their investigation was ongoing. The family trust suspended Grant's access pending review. Everything was collapsing around him. Becca started going to the Galvers full Eshipim, not just working, creating. She set up a small studio in the back room, painted during slow periods. The abstract pieces poured out of her, pain translated to color and form, grief becoming art. Margaret displayed one in the front window. Empty chair, a stark piece showing a hospital room done in sharp angles and cold blues. It sold within hours. "People want to see your work," Margaret said. "Your story, your art, it resonates. I don't want to be famous for tragedy." "You're not. You're famous for survival, for courage, for refusing to stay silent." More paintings sold. Collectors started asking specifically for Rebecca Morrison's work. She was building something, creating something entirely her own. Diane organized a family meeting at Tom and Julia's house, not at the Morrison family home. Becca was invited. Tom greeted her with a fierce hug. "I'm ashamed of my brother. What he did to you is unforgivable." Julia squeezed her hand. We want you to know, divorce doesn't end our relationship with you. Your family. Diane made the announcement. The family trust has been restructured. Grant's inheritance now goes into a managed fund. He can access it but doesn't control it. Tom and I will manage distributions. Can you do that? Becca asked. Grandfather's will has provisions for moral turpitude. Grant's behavior meets every criterion. Tom added, I've also voted to remove him from the family foundation board. His actions reflect poorly on all of us. Won't he fight this? Let him try. The evidence is overwhelming. After the meeting, Diane pulled Becca aside. How are you, really? Getting stronger. Some days. That's all any of us can do. One day at a time. Why are you doing all this? He's your son. Because he's my son who needs to learn accountability. And because you're the daughter I wish I'd had. They hugged. Two women who'd both loved Grant in different ways. Who'd both been disappointed by him. But who were choosing each other now. The morning of the mediation, Becca dressed in a black suit. Armor for battle. Lily braided her hair. War paint, they joked. Marcus met her outside the conference room. Remember, don't react. Don't engage. Let me do the talking. Grant was already there. Two lawyers flanking him. He looked smaller somehow. Defeated. They sat across the table from each other. Strangers who'd once shared a life. Grant's lead lawyer opened. My client is willing to settle. $500,000. Mrs. Morrison keeps her car and personal belongings. In exchange for an NDA regarding all business matters. No, Marcus said simply. The prenup is clear. The prenup was signed under false pretenses. My client was not informed of Mr. Morrison's financial irregularities. Further, Mr. Morrison's actions constitute abandonment and emotional distress. We're seeking full dissolution of the prenup and equitable division of all assets. That's absurd. Is it? Marcus pulled out documents. Because my client has medical testimony documenting Mr. Morrison's absence during a medical emergency. Witness statements from Dr. Helen Bradshaw. Evidence of a 6-month affair. And we're prepared to argue that stress from the abandonment contributed to the miscarriage, which opens Mr. Morrison to wrongful death, civil liability. The room went silent. Wrongful death, the nuclear option. Grant's face went white. You can't prove that, his lawyer stammered. We can certainly try it, Biggie. In civil court, with a jury of ordinary people, what do you think 12 everyday citizens will think of a man who abandoned his pregnant wife during a medical emergency? Private consultation. Grant's lawyers pulled him out of the room. Marcus turned to Becca. I should have warned you about the wrongful death angle, but I needed them to believe we'd actually do it. Would we? It's a long shot, but it's terrifying to them. That's the point. 20 minutes later, they reconvened. We're prepared to offer $750,000, Grant's lawyer said stiffly, plus Mrs. Morrison keeps her car and personal belongings. And the house, Marcus said. Absolutely not. The house is marital property acquired during the marriage. My client decorated it, maintained it, made it a home. She's keeping it. More consultation, more negotiation. Finally, $750,000. The house, her car, in exchange for agreement not to pursue wrongful death or additional civil claims. But Mrs. Morrison must sign an NDA regarding all business matters. No NDA, Marcus said firmly. That's non-negotiable. My client has the right to tell her story. Then we're at an impasse. Are we? Because the alternative is this case going to trial, in public, with every detail of Mr. Morrison's affair, abandonment, and financial crimes presented to a judge. And given the current media attention and ongoing federal investigation, how do you think that will go for your client? Grant's lawyers whispered urgently. Grant's head was in his hands. Finally, fine. $750,000. The house, the car, no NDA. But she agrees not to pursue additional civil claims related to the miscarriage. Marcus looked at Becca, raised an eyebrow. Your call. She looked at Grant, at this man she'd loved, who'd promised to love her, who'd abandoned her when she needed him most. Money wouldn't bring her baby back. Neither would revenge. But freedom, that she could have. I'll take it, she said, on one condition. What condition? He has to say it out loud, on the record, that he abandoned me during a medical emergency, that he had an affair throughout my pregnancy, that he's sorry. Grant's lawyer started to object, but Grant held up a hand, met her eyes for the first time. I abandoned you, Daman, he said, voice hollow, empty. I had an affair throughout your pregnancy. I chose my mistress over my wife during a medical crisis. I'm sorry for what I did. It sounded rehearsed, probably meaningless, but it was on the record, witnessed by lawyers, documented. Okay, Becca said, we have a deal. Papers were drawn up, signed, notarized. It was over. In the parking garage, Becca sat in her car, divorce papers in her lap. 7 years of marriage reduced to signatures on legal documents. She was divorced, financially secure, free. So why did she feel empty? Marcus tapped on her window. She rolled it down. You did good in there, he said. Most people would have taken the first offer. You held out for what you deserved. Did I, though, deserve it? You lost a baby while your husband was having dinner with his mistress. You deserve a lot more than a settlement. You deserve justice. Oh, is that what this is, justice? It's a start. That evening, Lily brought champagne. We're celebrating, she announced. Celebrating what? My divorce? Celebrating you standing up for yourself, for not backing down, for getting what you deserved. They didn't drink much, just sat on the porch, watching the sunset. What now? Lily asked. I don't know. Figure out who I am without him, I guess. You're Rebecca Morrison, badass artist, survivor, woman who took down her cheating husband and his corrupt business. When you say it like that, it sounds impressive. It is impressive. You're impressive. Becca caught herself doing it again, going to dial Grant's number to tell him about something funny that happened at the gallery. Muscle memory from 7 years of marriage. She stopped mid-dial, deleted his contact entirely, stared at the space where his name used to be. It was the right thing to do, but it still felt wrong. Missing someone who hurt you was the most confusing kind of grief. Marcus called 2 days later. Grant pled guilty, tax evasion, securities fraud, wire fraud. The prosecutors are recommending 3 to 5 years. Prison. Yes, he'll likely serve most of it. Federal prison doesn't have early release for good behavior. What about Vanessa? She's testifying for the prosecution. In exchange, she's getting probation and restitution payments. No prison time. She and the baby will be okay. And the firm? Dissolved. Multiple executives were implicated. The whole company is going under. Grant's world, completely destroyed. Becca should feel satisfaction, victory, something. Instead, she felt tired. More bad. Everyone lost. That was the truth about revenge. Even when you won, you still lost something. The cemetery was quiet at sunset. Becca carried pink roses. She'd imagined a daughter somehow. The memorial was small, a plaque. Forever in our hearts. But someone else was already there. Vanessa. She was 6 months pregnant now, showing clearly. She held white lilies. They stared at each other. Neither spoke at first. I didn't know you'd be here, Vanessa finally said. I can go. No, stay. They stood side by side. 2 women who'd lost the same baby in different ways, who were connected by tragedy and betrayal and something neither could quite name. I think about your baby sometimes, Vanessa said quietly, about what kind of person they would have been. Me too. I'm sorry I answered the phone that day. I'm sorry I didn't make him go to you. Would he have listened? Probably not, but I should have tried. Becca set down her flowers. Vanessa placed her lilies beside them. Are you scared, Becca asked, about your baby? Terrified, I'm doing this alone. Grant signed away parental rights, wants nothing to do with us. Maybe that's better. Maybe, but this child will grow up asking about their father. What do I say? That he abandoned his wife and wanted nothing to do with you? You say your father made mistakes, but you are not those mistakes. You're loved. That's enough. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Is it enough? It has to be. They sat on a bench, 2 women who'd been enemies, who maybe weren't anymore. I'm moving, Vanessa said. Oregon. My mom lives there. Fresh start. That's probably wise. I'm sorry for everything. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I need you to know, I see what I did, and I'm trying to be better. Becca thought about forgiveness. If it was possible, if she wanted to give it. I don't forgive you, she said honestly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't hate you either. That feels fair. They sat in silence until the stars came out. Then both stood. For what it's worth, Vanessa said, you're stronger than he thought. Stronger than I am. I'm not strong, I'm just surviving. That's the same thing. Vanessa walked away, pregnant and alone and facing an uncertain future. Becca turned back to the memorial, touched the plaque. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you, she whispered, but I'll make sure your story meant something. Becca went on her first date since the divorce. A friend of a friend's setup, nice guy, accountant named Derek. He talked about his job and his hobbies and asked polite questions. She smiled, nodded, laughed at appropriate moments, and felt absolutely nothing. Drove home, sat in her driveway, and realized that she wasn't ready, maybe wouldn't be ready for a long time. And that was okay. Life continued, slowly rebuilding. Becca took the full-time partnership at the gallery, not just managing, creating, curating, building something entirely her own. She started a workshop, art therapy for women who'd survived trauma, divorce, abuse, loss. They painted together, shared stories, healed collectively. Dr. Bradshaw reached out. I wanted you to know we've changed hospital protocols. For patients in crisis, we now verify emergency contact responsiveness. Flag situations where support systems fail. We're calling it the Morrison Protocol. Her story had changed policy, might prevent someone else from sitting alone through a crisis. Something good from the pain. Becca was at the grocery store when she saw them. A young couple. The woman very pregnant. The man hovering protectively, hand on her back. They were laughing about something. So clearly in love. Becca stood in the pasta aisle and cried. Not because she wanted that anymore, but because she'd wanted it once. And that younger version of herself deserved to grieve what she never got to have. Diane invited her to Sunday dinner. Tom and Julia were there. Their kids. Normal family chaos. You look good, Diane said. Healthier? I feel different. Not better necessarily, just different. That's growth. After dinner, Diane pulled her aside. Grant wrote a letter from prison. He asked me to give it to you. What does it say? I don't know. I didn't read it. Your choice whether to read it or burn it. Becca took the envelope, thick, multiple pages. She didn't open it for a week. It sat on her counter, waiting. Finally, alone one evening, she opened it. Grant's handwriting, still familiar. Becca, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know some things. I was scared of being a father, of not being enough. So I sabotaged everything. Chose escape over responsibility. When you lost the baby, I felt relief, and I hated myself for it. So I convinced myself you were fine, that it wasn't my fault. But it was. All of it. I'm in prison now. Lots of time to think about who I was, who I pretended to be, who I should have been. You were never the problem. The failure was entirely mine. I hope you build a beautiful life without me in it, Grant. She read it twice, then put it in a drawer. Not thrown away, not treasured, just there. An artifact from a past life. The gallery hosted Becca's first solo show. Her own art. Paintings made in grief and anger and healing. Opening night was crowded. Friends, strangers, people from the news coverage who'd followed her story. One painting drew the most attention. Empty chair, the hospital room rendered in abstract pain. A reporter asked, what does it mean? It's about absence and how absence can define us or free us. Your choice which? The show sold out, every painting. Margaret hugged her. You did it. You're a real artist now. I was always a real artist. I just forgot for a while. 1 year after the divorce, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a key, photos of a beach house, and a letter from Diane. Rebecca, you need a place to rebuild. Somewhere with no ghosts. This house belonged to my mother. It's been empty for years. It's yours now. The deed is in your name. Start here, son. Love, Diane. Becca drove to the coast the next day. The house was small, weathered blue paint, windows facing the ocean. Perfect. She spent the first week cleaning, painting walls, hanging her art, making it hers. Lily visited. They drank wine on the porch and watched the sunset. You seem settled, Lily observed. I'm finally okay being alone. That's different than being lonely. Are you happy? I'm content. That's enough for now. Marcus sent final paperwork. The divorce was completely settled. All ties severed, all obligations fulfilled. She framed the final decree, hung it in her office, not as a trophy, as a reminder. She survived. Vanessa sent a photo, her baby, a girl, beautiful. Her name is Lily, the text said, after new beginnings. Becca looked at the photo, Grant's daughter, her baby's half-sister, in a strange way. She typed back, "She's beautiful. Good luck." She meant it. 3 years later, Becca stood in a new gallery space, her own, Morrison House Gallery, taking back the name as hers. The grand opening featured work from women artists exclusively, stories of resilience, transformation, survival. Lily was there with her girlfriend. Tom and Julia brought their kids. Diane stood proudly beside her. "You've built something remarkable," Diane said. "We've built something remarkable. You invested. Best investment I ever made." The gallery filled with people, collectors, artists, supporters. A young journalist approached. "Mrs. Morrison." "Ms. Morrison," Becca corrected gently. "Ms. Morrison, your story was everywhere 3 years ago. Where are you now?" Becca looked around at her gallery, her art, her chosen family, the life she'd rebuilt from ruins. "I'm here," she said simply. "Finally here." Later that week, Becca hosted another art therapy workshop. 10 women, all survivors of something. One woman, Sarah, raised her hand. "I saw your story on the news, the way you stood up for yourself. It made me leave my husband. I didn't think I could, but if you could, maybe I could too." This was why her story mattered. Not revenge, not punishment, but permission. "I'm not the woman I was," Becca told the group. "The woman who married Grant was softer, quieter, more accommodating. She believed love meant sacrifice. But sacrifice and self-erasure aren't the same thing. I had to lose everything to learn that. You don't have to." That evening, alone at her beach house, Becca sat on the porch with wine. Her phone buzzed. Trish Cole, Vanessa's mother. A photo, Vanessa's daughter, 3 years old now, playing on a beach, laughing. "She's happy. I'm happy. Thank you for giving us the chance to be." Becca saved the photo, closed the phone. The ocean waves were rhythmic, soothing, eternal. She thought about the baby she lost, wondered who they would have been. But she didn't cry. Not sad tears anyway. "I'm okay," she whispered to the memory. "I'm finally okay." And she was. The story doesn't end with revenge perfectly executed. It ends with a woman who discovered that the opposite of betrayal isn't punishment. It's peace. Grant lost everything: career, family, freedom, reputation. Becca lost things too: marriage, baby, innocence, trust. But she gained herself fully, completely, unapologetically. Some victories don't look like triumph. They look like a woman sitting on a porch at sunset, drinking wine alone and feeling content. They look like art on gallery walls, like workshops where women paint their pain, like policies that protect hospital patients, like a life rebuilt brick by brick. They look like survival. And sometimes survival is the greatest victory of all. Rebecca Morrison closed her eyes and listened to the ocean. Tomorrow she'd open her gallery. Next week she'd teach another workshop. Next month, who knew? But tonight, right now, in this moment, she was content. Not happy, not healed completely, but content with the woman she'd become. The woman who'd lost everything and found herself. The woman who'd been abandoned and learned to stand alone. The woman who'd been broken and rebuilt herself stronger. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that was everything. The waves crashed, the stars emerged. And Rebecca Morrison, survivor, artist, warrior, sat in peace with the life she'd claimed from the ruins. Finally free, finally whole, finally home. Rebecca Morrison rebuilt her life from the ashes of betrayal. She turned her pain into power, her grief into art, her silence into a voice that changed hospital policies and gave other women permission to stand up for themselves. But here's what I want to know. What would you have done in her position? Would you have taken the settlement and walked away? Would you have teamed up with your husband's pregnant mistress to take him down? Would you have forgiven or fought back? Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts. I read every single one and I genuinely want to know how this story made you feel. If Rebecca's journey moved you, if you felt her pain, her anger, or her ultimate peace, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells me you want more stories like this. Real stories about real women facing impossible choices and finding the strength to survive. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe it's a friend going through something similar. Maybe it's someone who needs to know that leaving is possible, that healing is possible, that life after betrayal can be beautiful. And if you're not already subscribed, click that button now. Because every week I bring you stories of women who refuse to stay silent, who turn their tragedies into triumphs, who prove that the end of one story can be the beginning of something even better. Rebecca Morrison lost a baby, a marriage, and the life she'd imagined. But she gained herself, fully, completely, unapologetically. And sometimes that's the greatest victory of all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And remember, your story isn't over yet. Not even close. I'll see you in the next one.